Breaking news today. The focus on Iran, Russia, and Ukraine explains why Israel was unprepared. How Hamas managed to launch such a large-scale operation without Israel's knowledge has been the biggest mystery surrounding the Israel-Gaza conflict from the very beginning. Massive enough that for weeks, Gazan rockets rained down on Israeli cities. Resistance persists. Somehow Hamas sneaked large amounts of weapons into Gaza unnoticed. The tunnels were obviously important, especially those dug 60 feet underground and stretching for some 300 miles through an area only half as large. How did the people of Gaza keep their massive, ongoing construction projects under wraps for the years it must have taken? That is, keep them hidden from the supposedly most powerful intelligence agency in the world. There was almost certainly already an Egyptian smuggling tunnel network in place, but new arteries planned as specific arrowheads for a coordinated campaign like October 7 into Israel required precise purpose building, and the Israelis failed to notice. How? Among the many theories that have circulated, the most prominent is that Bibi Netanyahu must have known, but ignored the situation for political gain. The story goes like this. He needed a crisis to thwart the corruption investigations, save his career, and rally the country behind him. Or maybe to finally get rid of all of Gaza City's diverse population. At first glance, the equation seems convincing, but upon further examination, it completely falls apart. The intelligence agencies would have found out first, and he couldn't have kept them in the dark. Israel has too many dissenting voices all the way up the hierarchy, not least in the defense and intelligence bureaucracy, and he simply could not have kept them in line. Information of this nature, if not stifled from above, would have spread like wildfire. Moreover, Israelis, including Netanyahu, do not think that way. Namely, that they would anticipate an attack and be willing to sacrifice a small number of people for an undefined future goal. Once the war is over, Netanyahu would know beforehand that a successful Hamas surprise attack would end his career, reputation, legacy, and the future of anyone close to him. He did not collude with others to ignore the problem. So, how do we justify this? The tunnels were obviously very important to Hamas's ability to carry out their missions. It's not entirely true that nobody knows anything about tunnel warfare. Not the first time, by any means. During World War I, both sides dug tunnels underneath the battlefield to weaken the other. The Viet Cong made extensive use of tunnels during the Vietnam War. And they've been ubiquitous in Ukraine. These were widely used by prisoners of war during the war, and they have been used in prisons for decades, and centuries in the case of Mexico, around the world. Israel has had to deal with tunnels from Gaza on a regular basis in the past. Like mine laying, bomb disposal, or range finding, the measures and countermeasures are now a global science. You can be sure that Israel has installed a comprehensive system of audio and video surveillance, counter tunnels for eavesdropping, facial recognition, sound recognition, movement pattern tracking, and much more over the Gaza Strip. The Israelis should have been alerted to the suspiciously rapid extrusion of soil and should have listened for the telltale regular tempo sounds of tunnel digging. The information was abundant, but it required close scrutiny. When will they learn? Here is one explanation that makes sense. And the timing is related to Netanyahu, Putin, Iran, and other factors. Over the past few years, particularly during Netanyahu's leadership, relations between Israel and Russia have grown surprisingly close, with a lot of Russian money flowing into Israel. During the same time period, at least the last decade, Israel appeared to have early and continuous access to secret information regarding hostile Iranian activities inside Syria, including the transfer of weapons, the movement of troops, and the construction of bomb factories. Enough to always stop them cold before they become a threat, with such regularity that the world has come to take it for granted. The Russians never used their air defenses or retaliated in any way. The client state of Syria. That dependence grew, and that Iran was unable to challenge or share the Kremlin's power over Damascus, suited Moscow just fine. While this was going on, widespread speculation emerged that Moscow and Tel Aviv kept an extensive back channel for sharing intelligence on Iran and Syria. Unfortunately, Israel became reliant on constant information updates.